folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. Oh, Jesus, I changed my background. Anyhow,
we're going to be talking about the Egyptians when they were in the Southwest.
Yeah, might have to have a show about that. But anyway, as with my co-host David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for being here tonight.
And greetings and blessings always to all y'all who show up. And we always pray that you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from our Creator. And tonight's story is Owl with the Great Head and Eyes. So that'll be coming up in a little while, if you could wait.
We'll wait a minute. But anyway, and if nothing else, guess what it is? It's my birthday. Woohoo! Okay. How about that? I like that. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, everybody. It's my birthday. I'm older. Hey, we're celebrating tonight.
Oh, that's right. I was supposed to bring ice cream.
You bringing the ice cream? Okay, enough of the birthday song.
I got chocolate donuts.
Oh, that's a good one. We got chocolate donuts for tonight. Woohoo! I hope you all like that. It's a happy birthday tonight to me. I'm glad you all could have joined us tonight to celebrate my birthday and enjoy the festivities.
And how old are you, 65?
72.
That's my line.
Yeah, I know. That's what it's. Chloe's grabbing the ice cream. She's grabbing the ice cream. Thank you, everybody. Queen Peachy King, thank you. Witchy Moon's in the house. Thank you. Nina the Mystic's here. Hey, everybody, go out and get yourself a shirt or a mug, a sticker or something, because guess what? It's my birthday and you need to celebrate. Go over to Nina's store. It's in the links below. She'll probably post it here somewhere. But anyway, thank you. Go over and buy your shirt for my birthday and celebrate a little bit. Elderberry's in the house. Yep.
Happy birthday to you, Beatles.
Oh, yeah. I could have got a Beatles song.
It's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Anyway. Yeah.
There's Christmas in the house. Susie Q. Anyway, let's see who else is in there. Lucky Stone, Nina the Mystic. Thank you for all the birthday wishes, everybody. It makes it a great birthday. And as we celebrate tonight and get into all the good things that are going on in this crazy world, there's Scotty Boy. Thank you, Scotty Boy. Like a day over 20. I don't look like I'm a day over 26. No, but I'm 56 and my eyes are bad. That's my line. Yeah, my eyes are bad. You were just talking about going and getting surgery. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I went to the eye doctor today, and my cataracts are definitely getting worse. And so is the narrow angle of my eyes, which is causing issues. And so I'm scheduled for June the 4th to have my right eye done. And Doc says once they, settle me down and everything, the procedure only takes about 10 minutes. So that's cool. But then in June of the 18th, I think they're going to go, and I will have the left eye done. So I know what I'm going to be doing for the month of June. Not much.
Not much. Well, yeah, you won't even be able to read by that, probably.
Well, they say, that the biggest thing is that it's going to be really bright, and that it's the incision needs to heal, and that I'm going to have to get used to being able to focus again differently, to get adjusted. So, but anyway, and Elderberry, I was supposed to go visit him, going to have to wait till September. That's all there is to that one.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of us are 56. Yes. Yeah, and if you go over, I got presents today. Thank you, Nina. Nina, thank you. Thank you so much. You know what Nina got me? My favorite present of all? Me. Look at that. Stickers. And you too can get some of these stickers. Go over to the Streamlabs and you can get your smiling mug or my smiling mug for you. Post them. These are nice stickers too. Looks just like me. Stick them on your dream book or your other book. I got a book here. I got it all picked out. This is my journal, and I write in, and I am gonna see it fits right on there. It's gonna stick right on there. That's where it's gonna go.
There you go.
Because it's my journal, and I'm hoping everybody else out there has their own journals that they keep track of all their dreams or their daily progresses or something like that. They got little ones and they got big ones. So go over there. So we got Honor Karanas too. But today's my day, so I'm showing off my stickers like the Honor Karana too. But thank you, Nina. Thank you for so much for that. Because hey, there's nothing sexier to have than this face.
On a t-shirt.
On a t-shirt. That's right. So there you go. Now order a pair of shorts. Scotty boy, you better get over there and get some shorts because it's the only time you're going to get me on your butt. Yeah, or boobs. There you go. When you girls go out there, that's probably as close as I'm ever going to get to a boob again, I'm a dirty old man.
Somebody else's, right?
Yeah. Oh boy, yes. Get on over there. Go to the Streamlabs and support Nina.
Uh-oh. He shut himself off. Well, happy birthday, Robert. I'm still over there.
I lost it. I hit the wrong button there.
I knew it. I was like, he turned himself off.
Oh, yes.
You got so excited.
Yep. Another trip around the sun. Thank you, Mary Wins. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. Because, hey, yeah, we lost the birthday boy. Hey, that was the big surprise, Anyway, yeah, it's been a great birthday. Lots of people wishing me happy birthday. We gotta celebrate when we can. You never know when your day is up or what's going on. Make the best of every day. All these years on this planet, I cherish each and every one. I become smarter and wiser every day. I learn so much, and I take every day as a gift and cherish it, to my best of my ability. And I don't regret anything. There's a few things I probably would have wanted to change, but then I think, would it led me to the path that I'm on today? And I don't know. I think I made the choices I made, and I'm going to stick with it. It's like getting, when you get dealt the card, you're playing a game of cards. Do you throw down the cards and say, give me all new ones? Or do you take the ones you got and make the best of them? You take the ones you got, you make the best of them. You trade a few off, but you keep your hand. You don't fold. You got to make it through. You throw down your change and you keep playing the game.
Give me three cards.
Yeah, but you take those risks. There's risks out there to take. Play the game. It's a lot of fun. This is the world we live in. You got to know how to navigate through it. There's Crystal Shaman. Thank you for coming today. Welcome to my birthday party. As a, now I know I don't have as many years on me as you have on me, but I do think that that whichever way it goes, you're in a learning process the whole entire time. Am I right? You feel that way?
Absolutely. And like for me, that there are times when I shouldn't be here. In other words, situations that I got myself into that were literally, very risky and close to death. Um, so when you have those kind of incidents, in your life, it also makes you realize what your life is worth. And so what you've learned up to that point, and then you hit this, I'll call it an aha moment. But it's like, man, I dodged that bullet, boy, that was close. Oh, wow. And then so whether you want to or not, your thought process changes. And so then you learn some other things that you didn't quite, I don't know, maybe you might not have ever thought of before. So it stimulates different thought patterns. And it doesn't have to be a near death experience. It could just be something that just shakes you up for whatever it does. So, but anyway, so our lessons are never over.
Nope.
I mean, we keep learning right on until the next life.
That's true. That's true. There was a guy.
One other thing before I forget, and there are a lot of folks who, oh, we're going into the fifth dimension. No, we're not. Okay. We're leaving the third and going into the fourth. That's why everything for so many of us is literally so screwy and twisted up and can't quite get our thoughts together. And also, a lot of scientists are talking about these solar energies and galactic energies that are affecting our DNA. So, all of us are feeling a little squirrely at different times. But with that said, but we're going into the fourth dimension. We have to be able to learn how to deal with each other on a psychic level. We have to start learning how to be, I'm going to call it more spiritual. But it's more than just being more spiritual. It's being able to see and understand some of the other dimensions, and seeing little people or things, but we are definitely in the edges of the fourth dimension. So if you're feeling a little weird out there, it's weird.
There was a guy talking today, and he says, and I kind of like how Mary Wins always says, love won, or, we've already won, blah, blah, blah. And we're all winners. If we made it into this world, we're winners. Because he says, just think of it. When this is a medical term. So the semen has to fertilize the egg, and out of millions and millions of semen going through there, only one little guy gets to fertilize the egg and then create you. So automatically you're a winner because somebody won. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but some of us had a really crappy life in our first 3 or 4 years of life, or other periods, and so one might reconsider that. Did I really win anything? But one of the things I can say is that at my age now and the shaman journey I've been on, is that, so what would I call winning at this point? Well, I'm born, I lived all these years, I'm grateful, I really am. So, but what does the finish line look like from here? Well, to me, it's that winning means, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Or are you working at some job and you're hateful and you're disgusted all the time? Or are you doing something that might not make you money, but you're happy as hell? So that's what winning looks like. are you doing what your spirit says you should be doing? And ain't nobody can make up that but you. And
Yeah.
also, the next part of that winning is if I'm doing what I don't know. There have been times I've been, is this what you really want me doing? You know, but when you accept that part, then that's another win, you know. And so, but that other win is then I'm going to do my best to prepare my transition now.
Yep.
So this going to heaven and on, okay, if that's what you believe. But the bottom line is you got to get your frequency right. Because when it's time to go, I would rather not be surprised. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a Boy Scout. I'd like to have my little Boy Scout backpack with me with my stuff before I go to the next dimension. I want to have my little, my little information packet ready. So, but,
Yep.
to be a winner means that for me is that I'm doing what the good Lord asked me to do and I'm following through on it best I can, and that I will not stray from the path from here until my end.
Mm-hmm.
That's winning for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does
No,
nothing else matter? I can win $1 million, but
yeah. Well, no, I totally agree. It gets to a point as you get older, and I know everybody here is listening is in the older category usually. But the idea is I've had lots of adventures. I've learned lots of stuff and I've gotten pretty wise. And as you get older, you have more and more adventures and you learn more things. But I think once you gather that, you have to spread that wisdom out. Otherwise, if you hold it, what good is it? Then you're kind of a useless eater. If I just sat in front of the TV and I got all this wisdom, but I'm going to just sit in front of TV, eat bonbons and donuts all day long. And, there needs to be an outlet for it, to teach, to create. If it's, because some of those people, as they get that wisdom and they get older, they paint pictures or write books or they spread their wisdom like yourself. You're not writing books and making music anymore. You're spreading your wisdom on YouTube, right?
And to the tune of 4-hour videos.
Well, yeah, but it's out there for years and years.
Yeah. And for that, if I was to I could make a book out of every one of those 4 hours of discussion.
Yeah.
I could. The other side of that too is that, it's almost a sin, especially if your journey is to help other people in some way, that if you don't, it's that parable about the talents. The good Lord gave one 5, another one 3, and another one 1. And so the 5 made 10, 3 made 6, and 1 was just 1. He buried it in the backyard. So if you've got a talent, don't bury it. Even if it has been buried up to now, you still have the choice to go out there, find a shovel, get a stick, or use your bare hands and uncover that sucker and do something with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
there's
where
always
time. Queen Peachy Keen says, "Don't tell the strippers are here." Woo-hoo! What a birthday present! They're coming in. Gotta go, guys. Oh boy, yeah, it's funny, but it makes me happy to just spend it with all of you guys. So I've had a few birthday cards come in, one today, so I was really happy and excited about that. So I do enjoy my cards. I'm a letter guy and stuff. They're all on the fridge now, and I'm pretty happy. So it was a good birthday. It was good. I'm ready for the next one. I'm ready for the next one.
Good.
I'll make
Let me
it through.
throw something in here before I forget.
Yeah.
if you like for myself, if life is given, it's crappy and whatever, and what am I going to do with the rest of my life, however old you are, it's that if you're dissatisfied with your current situation, sit down, take a deep breath, because Creator always says to calm the mind or you will never hear the answer. So calm your mind and let the Creator, let the universe talk to you, and then act on that and change your situation. If you don't like walling around in the mud, then don't.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The thing is, nobody can change your situation but you. I've changed my situation many a times, and I didn't like it, and I changed it. I said, this is not where I want to be, and nobody can force me to be here. So I'm leaving, even if it means moving away from family and friends. No matter if it means struggling. I've been through those challenges of struggle and hardship, and losing friends and gaining. It seems like I lost friends, but then I gained more friends for changing my situation. So it's a give and take, and sometimes you make good choices and sometimes bad. But regardless if you make bad or good choices, make some choices. If you stick with the same thing and it's making you miserable, well, you're your own creator. That's it. Your own creator.
Now, I know that circumstances can suck, and it's like, well, I really wanted to buy a house, I didn't have enough money or whatever or something. Okay, maybe it's not that house. Maybe it's a different house. Like for me, I was looking for property 40 years ago, and I was like, man, I really want some over on the other side of the county, and there wasn't none there. And I looked and I talked and I this and I that, and begged and pleaded, let me lease an acre of your land and I'll buy it, And so then I found this little clip in the newspaper, followed through on it, found this old hippie guy that was willing to, for the first 2 years, finance it himself. And so here I am 40 years later on the same piece of land, so it's like you never know. And there are many times along the way, I was like, I don't know if this is right. I don't know. Maybe I should move to get a better job, or but now I was talking to a friend of mine that took me to the eye doctor today, and she's like, I look around and I see all these people our age who are losing their homes because they're going under. They lost their home, right? And I was like, so I've made this choice. I'm living like a pioneer down here, but I don't have a mortgage. And a lot of folks my age are still paying on a $150,000 mortgage at 72. I'm free and clear of that mess, but so people who think, I really want this house and I'll refinance, and because this is what I want, but they're not asking the question about whether or not they should.
Well, and that's the thing. They're living beyond and above their means. And when it really boils down to it, do you need a 300,000? What would you do right now with a $300,000 house? Even if you paid it off, the taxes would break you.
Yep.
And, because that's the thing. They think, oh, in the time I got, I got this really good property, and the blah 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 blah. But then when the taxes go up, now I can't pay for it. Now I have to sell it, and now I have to downsize, or I'm going to lose it.
Right. Or you end up losing it, no matter what.
And now you got nothing.
That's right. And so, it's like, for example, at the time that I refinanced my property, my job was going well, the economy was going well, everything looked groovy, and then within a year, all of that changed. So in 2002, I borrowed money against the house to fix it up. And by 2003, I had regretted it because I was not sure of whether or not I was going to have a job. And sure enough, I didn't by the next year. but I still had to pay the money back. And I didn't have a job, so I still had to pay the money back that I borrowed 2 years earlier. So, was it the smartest thing for me to do? So it's not necessarily about what you want, but take that look inside and go, is it what I need in tomorrow or the next day? Should I save up some more money and just see what happens for 6 months and then do it? So whatever that might be. So I wish that I had waited before I took that loan out, is my point. It almost took me. So, but don't be afraid to take a risk at the same time. But,
but see, that's the thing. And you take a loan out, and if it's reasonable, I got a friend who says this all the time about his house. If I'm making a payment and it's $200 and I got to borrow $200, but if I got a payment and it's $2,000 and I miss it, who's going to borrow me that?
Right.
And then what do I do? And he's right. He's right.
Just 1 month.
Yeah. I mean, even if you could get the money and borrow from 3-4 people and pay that one, and you catching up is going to be a pain in the butt. But if you were behind $200 and you said, "Hey, I need $200," most people just whip it out and say, "Oh, it's only $200," and you can borrow from 3-4 people and pay payments for 6 months. And you possibly could start paying them back eventually. But when you got $2,000 on some of these payments now, my God, when these people are borrowing $500,000 to buy a house, I mean, a van life sounds better. Yes. Go buy a van, live in your van for a while, save up some money, and you too can be a YouTuber van life. And then you can buy your property in middle Arizona desert somewhere for $2,000 an acre and live on that. There you go. Like some of these vagabonds. Anyway, we should get on with the show before it gets too late.
I started out as a vagabond, traveling around as a carny. So I started my journey in the back of a van.
Well, that's
and
how
moved up from there.
Well, sometimes that's how you have to do it. Whatever it is, besides living in the dumpster out back,
Yep.
You do what you got to do and take risks and,
Well,
with mom.
If you got a job worth anything and you're living in, I wouldn't move in with my mom for nothing. And especially now that she's dead, but, and that would smell. But, sometimes you have to bite that bullet, as they say, and just do without, and save that money. I mean, I'm living in the van. Well, why? Well, because I don't have any money. Well, are you saving any? Or are you just piddling it out? Or no. So what, if you just want to live in a van and travel around, there's nothing like that. Living in a van down by the river. Yeah, Chris Farley. And don't park too close to the river in case it rains and you get flooded out. But I got sidetracked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, never mind. I shut up.
It's all right. Oh yeah, a lot of good ideas here. Multifamily houses used to be the thing. That's how it is in over these foreign countries. You don't have nursing homes for all the people. Everybody lives with their relatives until they, kids take care of their parents and so forth and so on. Now, us Americans, we just drop them off at the nursing home and move on. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. See you later. I got a life to live.
And, I have worked for a couple of nursing homes in my day. And there's a couple of them that were not really nice. They weren't nasty, but they were close to nasty. One of them got fined big time. But anyway, and in other countries, you don't get 2 people in a room like a semi-private. There might be 6 people They're two bunk beds, and they're stacked up on top of each other. And you live on the top bunk, and somebody else lives on the bottom bunk, and it's almost like a prison because that's how we slept, was two bunks and lined up,
Yep.
So, but in other countries, they got 2, 3 bunks with old people, sick people, and old people are right along with the sick people because they don't care and they don't have the money for that. So, they're you're better off if you got in your own self-sustainable place, like me. The nurse asked me, "Or can you take care of yourself?" And I said, "Sometimes."
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Good.
But
Good friends.
but the thing is that as long as you can take care of yourself and keep that focus, you don't have to go live with bunk beds.
That's right.
Okay, let's go, Robert.
Okay, we're getting back on the Nez Perce. Today we're going to talk about that camas root. Let's see, as soon as I can pop that up. Anyway, we did a little bit of talking about it last week, and there it is. It's a kind of a plant. This is the Nez Perce. They, during this season, it's like, what did they eat? They didn't grow crops. They ate fish, buffalo, things like that. And, you're living in the mountains. Remember, we talked about the mountains, and there's really not a whole lot there. What are you eating? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, because it was pretty interesting. So it was kind of like their tradition. Also other tribes, the Nez Perce, plus the Salish, the Yamakan, the Camas root, or it's called a Kamasa or Kamasa, I guess you could pronounce it. It's just more than a plant. It's their symbol of life. This gives them life in the wintertime because they can pick this. It comes up as a flower, and in the fall, it ripens up. It's kind of like it looks like an onion. It has a big bulb on there. There's other plants that have bulbs and stuff, and like cattails and stuff, but this is what they had because they lived in the mountains. This was their balance with nature. It's how they survived, and then they could take this plant, they would clean it up, dry it, smash it up, make like a mush or a whatever out of it, or they could dry it and keep it all winter. Today people can it. They go up there and they get these bulbs and then they can them and use them. They still use them. You can still go out and find this camas root and eat it. It isn't like it has changed. I think I'm going to try. I don't know if I can find it out here, but I'm going to try really hard to find some this year and see what it actually tastes like and let you guys all know. Maybe I'll make a video of it. Anyway, the community would all get together. They would dig it with, the women would dig it with, where did I put my marker here? They sharpened digging sticks, and the women would poke in the muddy ground because, when it's dry, it's like a rock out there, through the patches of, this is a melting snow, and turn up corn-like roots called koos, and they boiled them in the mealy mush and cooked and shaped it into small cakes to save for later. In the following months, there were other roots to be gathered, like wild plants and nuts and berries and sparkling meadows of the mountains, the foothills, wild onions and carrots. I didn't even know they had wild carrots. Did you?
No. Of course, they had to come from somewhere.
Yep, that's true. They had pink blossom bitterroots, and high up under the brush of the mountainsides were hawthorn and service berries, blackberries, strawberries, and gritty huckleberries. They carried them down to the camps, large basketfuls to be pressed into cakes and saved for the winter. Of course, remember, they didn't grow anything. They just ate the wild stuff. But you know what else eats the wild stuff out there, like all those berries? Bears. I can imagine them having a fight off a bear, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Anyway, when they would be used they flavored and dried fish and meat and roots. In late June and July, there was another harvest, a time for the favorite, the camas. Oh, so I guess it's in July. The lily bulb, or delicate flower, carpeted the prairies with bluish sheen. So that's this bluish sheen of this kind of thing here, this flowery plant. You can see that. It's pretty flower. I'm going to have to try to find this. I know I've seen this plant here. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so we got these bulbs, and then, so that's kind of what it looks like an onion, doesn't it? Kind of looks like a wild onion kind of thing. Anyway, the bulbs resembled small onions, but eaten cooked or raw, tasted agreeably sweet. In the summer, when the blossoms had faded and the people of many villages gathered together at the camas grounds, and they pitched camp for with covered lodges. That's the teepee. And then the women dug the bulbs in with their curved sticks. The men and the boys hunted and gambled and played games. So basically, the women did all the work again. They would steam them. After the bulbs had been gathered, they'd steam them, made them into a dough, or pound them into gruel. And some of it packed away for later months. Let's see, the lodge's mats are pulled out. Okay, so that's what it is. But anyway, that's what they were doing. Can you imagine having a bundle of those? Ooh-wee. They look kind of small. So I imagine that they, let's see, but the bulbs were in the soil, held deep. The nutrients they got all these nutrients from the mountains. The tribes would harvest in the late spring. Also led to the women and cook the bulbs with underground pit ovens. I don't know what an underground pit oven would look like, but that's what they had, underground pit ovens. Imagine you dig a hole, and then you would cook or get the hot coals, and you would put these in there, and then you would cover them up with some dirt like that. Wouldn't you imagine?
Yeah, there's a smokeless type of fire that the natives built, and you can still build, but and basically you go ahead and use the ground as the oven.
Yeah, because they have a fire.
If you have an oven on top of the ground, you got to make it, pack it, and so you basically dig it out enough in front of it to put stuff in and to have the fire. But then, and it might be 1.5 foot deep, in order to get what you want. And of course, the ground, if you tried to do it down here in the sand out in the backyard, that would not work. But, in the clay up here where I'm at, where the house is, that you could make one easy. So, but that you dig it out in such a way, and then you light a fire in there to kind of hard bake the inside of your earth oven. And then you get whatever you're going to cook, and you get a nice bed of coals in there and lay your bread or whatever it is on top of those coals. And then they'll use something to board it up, to cover it up. And it could be just a piece of buffalo skin or something across the hole. And but through on the other side is your chimney. There's another hole that you dig through it, and there's a chimney hole. And so it'll retain the heat and not smoke much, so you can keep a little fire going on the outside, lift up your cover, and push a few coals to keep the oven going, and then lay the flat back down. And it's really, once you get your little oven going and learn how to use it, it really ain't that hard.
Well, yeah, I imagine, because it says here, it says, they would cook these things and in the pit oven for 1 to 2 days. The slow roasting process transform. Well, I suppose once you get them hot coals and you put a little dirt over them, and then they just smolder in there, making lots of heat, And then you put your stuff on top of that or whatever, and then like you would almost nowadays get your hot coals, and then like when you're camping and you just put something in tin foil and then throw it in the fire.
Yeah.
And it would do the same thing. But they cooked them for 1 to 2 days. The slow roasting process transformed the starchy bulb into a sweet, rich, and digestible food source, sometimes eaten fresh, other times dried and stored for winter or a usable trade. Harvesting this camas was more than just gathering food. It was a ceremonial communal event, like I explained. The boys would play games and things. Families passed down knowledge to when the harvest and how distinguish, how to distinguish. Now, this is a good one. Safe camas from poison and death camas, and how to tend the land without depleting it. These were ancient practices of ecological stewardship, showing a deep respect for the cycles of the earth. Even today, camas meadows are being restored in some tribal and conservation efforts, not just to preserve the plant, but to reconnect the way of life rooted in balance, memory, and gratitude. Now, I don't know what the death camas is. I didn't know. See, that's nature for you. We're going to make one that's edible, and then we're going to make one that will kill you. You know what I mean?
Yep, dead. Now, just looking at those roots right there,
Yep.
A lot of folks might not realize it, but all those little finger trails coming off those roots, each one of those roots has the potential to grow a bulb because of the type of plant that it is.
Oh, wow.
So if they knew what they were doing, they would cut that bottom off where all the roots are attached to the bulb, and they could put that back in the ground for next year. And it could pop. Not everyone would come up, but you could pull it, snip it, pack the roots back down in the ground, and keep on going.
Nice.
So that you could be assured of repeating that, because if you pull them up, then how do you make more for next year? Well, it's those vines, it's those roots.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, well, and that's, who knows? Maybe they cut the roots off and threw them back in the hole they just dug.
That's what I mean.
They probably knew all this stuff. Like I said, according to this, they're trying to restore today. They're trying to restore some of these camas fields. So these people were technically doing agriculture, and they just didn't know it.
Oh, they knew it. The white man just never gave him credit.
Yeah.
I mean, because it takes a lot to harvest and sustain wild stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they were very good at it because of how they understood the processes of these things. So they would go hungry before they dig too many of them up, because they knew if they dug them all up, they wouldn't have any more. So, I mean, they were strict about it because they knew how valuable it was, not just for right now, but tomorrow, the next day, next year, next month, for their children, And folks nowadays say, "Ooh, look at that," and they go pull them all and don't leave anything for the next time, So,
well, I can imagine. I hate to say it, but I imagine like the settlers coming through. Now, if I was a settler and I didn't know any better, I would come through there and I would see the natives picking this camas root. I would go out there and I would pick the camas root too. But I wouldn't know to put the root back in or any of that stuff. So I would just pull it out, and then next year there's none out here. I wonder what happened to it all. Yeah, and maybe I would find 5 or 6 plants here and there, and I would pick them and I would take them home and say, "Look, we got some food for tonight. There wasn't much this year, so I don't know what happened." But now the field is barren because we went out there last year and picked bushels of it.
Yep.
And depleted the whole place, and yet the natives, they would probably, like you said, would throw the root back in knowing that it would grow more next year or something. And the white man comes along, just like any of the other things. You know, how many years did it take the white man to figure out, after he cut down all the forest, to actually go and start planting trees? You know, and say, hey, we need to restore the forest because, you know, we're cutting all the trees down and then there's none left. And it takes, you know, it's taken 100 years for a sapling to start growing. And then the place, you know, just goes to hell. But now we know better. Now you go out there and you cut a tree, you go replant a tree, right?
Yeah, up in North Carolina, where the Biltmore house is, that I understand got tore up bad with the hurricane. But that's where the cradle of forestry is. And humongous trees look like redwoods that, you know, on the eastern coast. Mm-hmm. And so they learned within 50 years that you can cut down a forest and you'll never see a tree grow back in your lifetime, you know. Yep. And so that's when they started, the Biltmores, they were like, no, this needs to be sustainable. If we keep cutting them, there won't be none left. So that they started that back in the 1800s-ish, or 1845, 50, somewhere in there, I think. But so, but the natives, they knew those types of things for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You know, and not just a couple of years, or, oh, we picked them all and now we got to try to, you know, reestablish them. No, they knew better.
Yes, they did. Well, I'm sure, you know, after they did that a couple of times, somebody 1,000 years before them figured it out. Like, hey, you know, that's why, like I said, I wrote down on Nez Perce, they lived in the balance with nature.
Right.
You know, they knew that you don't pick all of it and then don't throw any back. You don't go out there and pull all the camas roots up that you can find, and then just not, because it won't grow back. It'll take, you know, years, and then next year you starve, right? Or cut down all the trees because, you know, it takes 100 years for the first sapling to start growing and the trees to come back, and in 1,000 years you might have a pine forest there again. But in the meantime, we cut down all the trees, and that's all it is. But when you cut down the trees, or fire goes through, you know, all the wildlife goes away too.
Yep.
Okay, well, I looked up what the death camas is. The death camas is the same as this, except for edible camas flowers are purple or blue. Death camas flowers are white or cream. Here's a saying to go by. Blue is true, white can bite. There you go. So,
or cream is mean.
And all parts of the plant, especially the bulb, are highly toxic. It contains alkaloids, and they affect the heart and nervous system. Ingest can cause vomiting, seizures, low blood pressure, and even death. Wow. Yeah, it grows, and of course, just like the other camas, it grows 1 to 2 feet tall, typically found around dry meadows, hillsides, and open woods. Now, flowers earlier than camas in many areas, spring to early summer. So there you go. You shouldn't have nothing to worry about. Just don't eat the white. You know?
Yeah, but this is the time of year you'd go looking for it.
Yeah, in the fall, more in July and August. And blue is true and white can bite. Edible camas flowers are purple and blue, kind of like this, purple. Purple and blue, everybody. Can you repeat after me? Purple and blue are true. White can bite. Yes. Anyway, trying to learn something here. Yeah, Sunset. How did they find that out? By the first guy that says, hey, look at all the white ones. Let's eat them. We're hungry.
Hey, look at Junior over there. He ate one of them white ones. Uh-oh. Is he dead? Don't eat the white ones, y'all.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, don't eat the white ones. Yeah, somebody found this out. Yeah, and they died. Yeah, that's usually how it is. Look at that mushroom. Somebody gonna eat it? Oh, Mikey likes it. Go get Mikey. Remember that?
Hey,
that
Mikey.
show? Mikey, come on over here. You try this. Does Mikey like it? Yeah, Mikey likes it. Ooh, he survived. Well, I guess we all can eat it now. Uh-oh, Mikey's having a violent reaction to it. Mikey died. Yeah, it wasn't so good. Don't eat the white. I can see that now. Don't get me started on eating mushrooms. Yes, mushrooms. Don't eat the mushrooms that the squirrels won't touch. If the squirrels are eating the mushrooms, then you probably could eat them too. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, you got to learn by mistake. And it's always get the guy with the least amount of brains to make the mistake first. Okay. Now, the Nez Perce were the brothers to the animals and the trees and the grasses that were sheared by the sun, and the insects and the rocks and the brooks running through the snowbanks in winter, and the rain dropping from the leaves to the bushes and everything about them. The inanimate objects, as well as the creatures that lived, they were bound to them like the earth. They possessed a spiritual being that was joined through great unseen worlds of power and to the spirit within the individual Indian. What am I talking about, people? Talking about the spirit animal. All people have felt the need for supernatural forms, especially of assistance, and we'll be talking about that when you have that story coming up. Well, like gods and magic and four-leaf clovers, don't we all believe in something like that? Throw a little salt over our shoulder and things like that. Of course, the white men taught the Indians, call it medicine, but really, what was it? Anyway, the earliest...
Well, the white man came and said, you all are superstitious.
Yes, exactly.
Y'all are just a bunch of conspiracy theorists. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because the white man was like, oh, no, you can't eat what that Indian did. He might kill you. When the Indians trying to, fix you. So, but the word of the day was superstitious. So, which meant if you were superstitious, you could be a Christian and be superstitious, right? But that was a bad word, back then, because it sort of meant witchcraft or something. Superstitious. You're too superstitious. You believe in knock on wood, and you believe in, and a true Christian doesn't believe in that stuff. So that was the way to demonize, make them Indians savages. Remember, they got to stick with that idea. All natives are savages. So if they're superstitious savages, that makes it all the better. Make sense?
That's true. Yeah. Okay, of course, they believed in the reliance on effigies, dreams, and symbolic rock carvings and drawings. The power of dreams for good and evil remained strong among them, but eventually, perhaps, the intermingling with others, they refined their methods of identifying themselves more intimately with the forces of the nature world. They observed no formal religion or organized religious ceremonies that possess both men and women, shaman persons, and with miraculous powers. Of course, we talked about the shamans and things, and they're just like pretty much all the other ones that, they had spirit animals, and the shaman would cure them because he was a medicine man. He was your local doctor. He knew what roots were good and what were bad, what might cure you, what poultice he could put together to make bring back your power. Anyway, he had miraculous powers, they would say, and he could bring good weather and cure the sick by singing sacred songs. prescribing herb medicines and inflict the bad with illness and misfortune. Curse you, yeah. But the link to nature was even more personal. And in phases of daily life, the Nez person regarded the spirits of the forces and objects around him as well as small token possessions. We know that they used to carry, most Indians would carry a little bag with, what did they call that little bag?
Medicine bag.
Medicine bag, yes, okay. That's pretty obvious. I should have known that. Which contained small tokens, possessions, symbolized spirits, supernatural guardians, forms which they called personal way, the personal way, the Wakakin, the Wyakin, I guess. We'll go with the Wyakin. The Wyakin belief reflected a Nez Perce universe filled with individual spirits. They existed in dreams and in real life, and they could appeal to assistance from thunder and lightning and a soaring eagle or a grizzly bear. Each spirit could harm or protect a man according to his power. The Wakan could be a single force or a combination of forces. That's for sure. You join the bear with the rabbit, and you got speed and ferociousness. You know how that goes. Could protect him. It was assisting him through his life here on Earth, and with the spirit of something in nature around him. A forest fire, a wounded bear, a one-antlered elk, and its presence was made known to the Indian only through his dreams, his feelings and instincts and emotions. Because people don't pay attention nowadays when the red flag stands up and you go, I wish that God of mine would send me a sign. Huh, look, it's hailing out. I still wish he'd send me a sign. Yeah, man, I just got the house started on fire. I wish he'd send me a sign. You know, isn't there a funny skit like that or something? Send me a sign. I wish he'd send me a sign. He just don't send me a sign.
Well, there's that bad joke that is like, you know, the flood was coming and they came by in a big fire truck, and the guy was like, "No, God's going to save me." They come by later on, and it's over the porch, and the guy's, you know, hanging from the roof. And the boat comes by. God's going to save me. And so next thing you know, they ain't, you know, only the peak of the house is showing. Helicopter comes by, tries to pick him up. God's going to save me. Next thing you know, he's standing in the pearly gates in front, and St. Peter goes, "What the hell's wrong with you, boy?" And he goes, "Well, I thought God was going to save me." And he said, "He sent you a boat, a truck, and a helicopter. What did you expect, right?" So, you know, God sends you all kinds of things. The Creator, the Great Spirit, will send you all kinds of signs. But if you're not paying attention to them, you won't be able to at least be aware. Oh, like, ooh, wait a minute, something caught my eye. Maybe I should pay attention. And then right down the block, there's an accident or something. You know, I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and let me, since we kind of sort of slightly paused here, I'm listening to you describe these things. And it wasn't just the Nez Perce that felt this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Most other native tribes had that same inkling that, you know, closeness to Mother Earth, the Creator, that all things had sort of a spirit to them, you know. And so that, but this particular, the way it's been reading is that, and it seems like folks made the Nez Perce out to be the good Indians in the end. That might not be the right way, but so they're describing them. Oh, they were so sacred. No, they did. So were the other Indians. You just massacred them all, you know, and didn't give them a chance, you know.
Well, but they were massacring these guys too.
Right.
I did say that just like all the other ones we studied, you know, they had the medicine bag. You know, that's the one thing all the natives had as a collective together, regardless of if they were on the East Coast or the West Coast. They all believed in the great mystery. They all believed in nature, the, closeness, the oneness with the earth. They believed in the animal spirits and things like that. And I get it. I get that part. But none of them that I've read about yet said there's a man in the sky and he rules us all. And, like God, and he's, we got to pray to that one guy and build him monuments and do all these things. No, there's no hell. How come there was no hell? How come there was none of these things? Like, what, so if God was so true, how come he didn't get over this side of the planet and, convince these Indians that there's a hell and there's all these other things going on too, They could have had their own Jesus Indian that ruled North America.
Right. And something else that the native folks were not aware of that the Christians brought. A single God, a Lord that you should bow down and worship.
Yeah.
They did not know what the word worship is.
Yep.
Not a clue. They didn't know what a Lord was.
Yeah.
The only thing they could sort of identify with is there's one creator.
Yep.
Okay. But so I think the rest of it was that they were curious. What is this one God thing? But after all these years, they're finding out that one God theory might not necessarily be so true.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because the one God does not explain or go out on a limb with to explain nature and the spirits of nature. Oh God, we can't have spirits of nature. Well, when you go out in nature in the woods and there's something about the nature of things that you just feel it's alive. So in that there's life in nature, in the nature of nature, But the Catholic Church don't teach, or the Christian churches don't teach none of that. White man has dominion over the earth to do
That's
any
right.
damn thing he wants to. But to the Native Americans, we do not have dominion. We are co-habitants of Mother Earth.
That's right. That's right. See, that's where I have to draw the line when it comes to religion, because I think, well, if God was so almighty and all powerful and all everywhere and everything, then why did he forget North America and South America and stuff like that? What he only liked the Middle East. He only liked Europe, and the rest of the planet he didn't give a shit about.
Right. Well,
and
that's because nobody could read Chinese.
That's right. There you go. So anyway, let me finish up on that and we'll do the story. But anyway, they were talking about the Wonkin. Women could also have a Wonkin, and sometimes they possess guardian spirits as powerful as those of men. The possession acquired by a Wonkin was one of the Nez Perce. It was most sacred and solemn experiences. It was observed by both boys and girls in a certain age, usually between the 9th and 15th birthdays. After several years of instruction from an elderly man or a woman who was already possessed a strong Wonkin, a Nez Perce youth would depart from his village alone, unarmed, and without food or water to seek his personal guardian. Frightened, steeling himself for the most awesome of ordeals, and the youth would make his way to the silent and lonely place, perhaps on a mountainside, or by a lava outcropping, or on the plains in the fast way and appearance for the Wonkin. That's your spirit animal. He would build a pile of stones and sit by it, not unlike a devout young or any other faith, seeking a vision of revelation from his God, patiently waiting night and day, trying to keep his mind on the object of his sacred sacred quest, hoping that a sign would seize his imagination. And of course that become they're talking about a spirit animal. just like your spirit animal is a hawk, right? That's how you became Hawkeye.
Yep.
And how many of you guys out there have a spirit animal? Let me know in the comments here, and I'll read them off. Who's got a spirit animal, and what is your spirit animal? As David gets ready to read the story, because that's where we're going to end off tonight. Because everybody say it's 10-10. Come on. You know, Scotty Boy's got to have like a monkey or something for being a Hawaiian guy, you know. do they have monkeys in Hawaii? I don't know.
Hawaii, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe they got. He's got a white owl. Scotty Boys is a white owl. Yeah. What is a Hawaiian spirit animal? Like what? A cockatoo or something? I don't know. White owl. A cougar. Sugi's accused spirit animal is a cougar. Off the Hook says, I got a what is a Iwa? I don't know. No monkey. Oh, there's no monkeys in Hawaii. I thought being an island you'd have monkeys. Queen Peachy Queen says, mine is an owl. Owl. Rigid birds. A badger. No, dolphin and whale. No, I'm talking about yours. What's your spirit animal, not what the cards are. Deborah L. Smith, nice to see you. She says it's a wolf. Usually a shark. I don't know. Oh, Chloe's got a good one. How do you know if you have a spirit animal?
The animal will make itself known. I mean, for example, I may have told this story before. It's truly what happened for when they'd called me Hawkeye for years before I found out that Hawkeye was my totem also, okay? So it was just a nickname until, and then I went to the North Georgia mountains and I went with the intent for a spiritual, going to sit on the mountain, going to talk to God, was there for that purpose. So on Tray Mountain, I parked the car at the place and go up the Appalachian Trail. And on the way up, man, I am huffing and puffing. Little did I know that I had a heart condition.
Yeah.
But and it took me a while to make it up the top of that trail to the top of Tray Mountain. So I'm sitting up there in between the rocks. I mean, I can still picture it in my head. And off in the distance was a storm coming. And just a thunderstormy, South Georgia in the South, summertime thing. And so I'm sitting up there and there are birds flying, dive bombing my head, inches from my head. There are these little chipmunks that are come out and are playing between my feet. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is really spiritual. All these little critters coming out and the birds dive bombing me and everything. And then all of a sudden there was a clap of thunder and some lightning that lit up the daytime. And it was daytime when it happened. And then in a couple of minutes, it was a frog strangler. So down the mountain I went. And I mean, raining hard. It was all I could do to see down the trail very far. So you go down, switchback, down a switchback, down a switchback. And so I got about 4 switchbacks down to about the 4th switchback. And there, as I made the turn to go down, there's a tree that's coming up from the mountain. Now it's 50 feet up to this limb and then the rest of the tree. And there is a limb that looks like an arm. I mean, here's the trunk, I'm the trunk, here's this little bit, and then the rest of the limb. And sitting in that crook was a hawk. Now it is raining bloody murder. And that hawk is staring at me. And I'm like, what? And I could hear him in my head going, that's right, I'm talking to you, buddy. And I was like, what the hell? Now, at the moment when I came down there, I was soaking wet. I was cold. I was, thunder, lightning. Holy crap, man. I'm up on this mountain. And the hawk said, calm down. And I just went calm. Now, from where that limb was that he was sitting on was almost directly across from me. I would not have seen him if on the switch back above or below me. It had to be in that one spot. And that that hawk sat there, and I thought, well, he sees me, he's gonna fly up. No, he kept sitting there and just like staring at me. Didn't turn his head away or anything. But the thing is that there were hawks flying above my head before it started to rain. So I'd been watching the hawks, but to the point where I was like, hawks, Hawkeye, I wonder. Well, when that bird talked to me on the way down the mountain, I was like, well, I guess I really am truly Hawkeye. I guess Hawk truly is my spirit guide and has been ever since. And that's been 25, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So something profound. Now that was profound to me because I was there looking for it and asking for it, But if you keep seeing the same animal, now if you wake up and there's a rabbit in the yard every day, maybe not. But it may be true that the rabbit is one. You can have several spirit guides, and your spirit guides can change over the years. So, one might be predominant for a long time. It'll never leave you, but then another critter will come along because that critter will teach you something else. Much like the cards, so you got Hawk for a while and now you pick the Badger card,
Yep. So Chloe says, well, maybe the fox is her animal. Well, go with that, Chloe. Go with that. So there you go. Seen dreams of a human-sized rabbits, prairie dogs. Maybe there's something to that. Okay. Yep. Remember to hit the like button for my birthday, please, everybody. Hit the like button. Hawkeye, you ready to read the story? Yeah, the Galapagos have penguins.
Let me stretch, wipe my eyes, and
absolutely
clear my throat.
Remember to, I think it's this one.
Fans are enraged.
No, that's the one. That's the wrong one. Oh, here we go. This is the one. There we go. Remember, everybody, get on over there and go check out the new merch with my face on there. Even though I don't have the sound on, just imagine the sounds they're playing. Get yourself a cup with my mug on it. A mug with my mug. You get it? Get over there, buy a mug, a t-shirt with my smiling face on it. Could be yours for a small price. And help us out. Support Nina and the Milky Way Soul Tribe. Sweatshirt for the winter. And shop for it now. Yes, just go get a t-shirt, sweatshirt, something with my smiling face on it. You gotta love it. Yes. Scotty boy. Yes. A pair of shorts with my smiling face on it for Scotty boy. I think everybody chip in and get a pair of shorts for Scotty with my smiling face so he can sit on me. There you go. Oh geez, that's funny. Yes. Anyway, let's see. Yes, off the hook. Yes, it's my birthday. Yes, it's my birthday, not Mary's birthday. It's my birthday. Yeah, Bob Shorts. Yeah. Anyway, and it's not a movie. Okay, are you ready?
Almost.
Almost. Okay. Anytime you are, I have it up. We're ready to go. I think that's big enough print. I don't think I can get any bigger. Well, maybe I can. There we go. And Deborah Smith says, happy birthday, Robert V. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Thank you off the hook. Let's see. There we go. It's a rabbits again night. Look at that. Last week we had, last night it was rabbit, or last week it was rabbit. Today it's owl with the great head and eyes. Oh, wasn't that Scotty Boy's animal? I think Scotty Boy said owl was his.
And Peach? No, that wasn't. Somebody else said owl.
Oh, anyway. Okay. Maybe it was Peachy Queen. Anyway, okay.
This is still about rabbit.
It's still about rabbit. There you go.
Yes. It is still about rabbit. So.
All right, it's all yours.
All right. So tonight's story, I'm following in the same booklet of stories, Glooscap's Country and Other Indian Tales by Cyrus Macmillan, 1922. So it's 103 years ago. This story is called Owl with the Great Head and Eyes. Long ago, when Glooscap was the ruler of the Indians in eastern Canada, and when the animals all worked for him and talked like men, Wolf was one of Rabbit's enemies. On the surface, they seemed to be friends, but each was afraid of the other, and each suspected the other of treachery. Whoops. I lost my place. I'm sorry. Rabbit was very faithful to his work as the forest guide who showed people the way to far places. But he was also a great trickster, and he delighted to play pranks on everyone he met. He liked more than all to pester Wolf, for he had a hatred for his cruel ways, and he was always able to outwit him. It happened that Rabbit and Wolf lived close together, deep in the Canadian forest. Some distance from them, in a little house, lived a poor widow woman who had only one daughter. She was a very beautiful girl, with hair as black as the raven's wing, and with eyes like the dark of the underwater. Rabbit and Wolf each fell in love with her, and each in his own way sought her as his wife. Rabbit tried to win her love. When he went to her house, he always dressed himself in a soft brown coat, and he put a bangle about his neck and bells upon his feet. And often he played sweetly on his flute, hoping to charm her with his music, for he was a great player upon the Indian pipe. And he tried to grow a mustache to hide his split lip, but he had little success, for his whiskers would not grow thick, and he has the chin scraggly mustache only a few hairs to this day. But no matter what Rabbit did to adorn himself, the girl gave him cold looks, and old Wolf seemed to be deeper in her favor, for she liked his willowy form and his sleek and bashful ways. and poor Rabbit was sore distressed. One fine day in the springtime, Rabbit came upon the girl and her mother gathering mayflowers among the moss. He crept close to listen to their talk. He heard the mother say, "I have no stomach for little Rabbit, but Wolf pleases me well. You must marry Wolf. They tell me he is a great hunter, and if you marry him, we shall never want for food." When Rabbit heard this, he was very sad. He determined that on no account should Wolf marry the widow's daughter, and that he must use all his power to prevent it. That night, he went alone to the girl's house. He spoke sneeringly of Wolf, saying with a bitter frown, "Wolf is no hunter. He never catches any game because he is lazy and he has no brains. I always have to feed him to keep him from starving. He is but a beast of burden. I always ride upon his back when I go to a far country, for he is good for nothing else." The girl's mother wondered greatly, and she was very startled by this news, for she did not want her daughter to marry a good-for-nothing. But she was not sure that Rabbit spoke the truth, for she heard that sometimes he told great lies. And so she said, "If you will ride Wolf over here, I will believe you. And he shall not marry my daughter, and you shall marry her yourself." And Rabbit went home well pleased and sure of a happy ending to his trick. The next day, Rabbit purposely met Wolf in the forest, and he said, "Let us go together to see the widow's daughter." And Wolf was glad to go. They had not gone far when Rabbit began to cry. Then he lay down on the ground and rolled and moaned and rubbed his belly as if in great distress. "I have a sharp pain in my belly," he sobbed. "I cannot walk any farther. If I walk, I shall surely die. I cannot go unless you carry me on your back." Wolf willingly agreed, for he wanted to see the beautiful girl, and he was very sorry for poor Rabbit in his pain. And Rabbit, laughing to himself, climbed on Wolf's back. Wolf ran along, not feeling the load, for Rabbit was very light. They had not gone far when Rabbit cried again and said, "I cannot ride without a saddle, for your bare back hurts me and gives me blisters." So they borrowed a little saddle from a field by the way and put it on Wolf's back. Soon Rabbit said, "This is fine fun. Let us play that you are a horse and I am a great rider. I should like to put a little bridle on you, and to wear spurs on my feet, and to carry a whip." And Wolf, wishing to please Rabbit to make him forget his pain, gladly agreed. So they borrowed a little bridle and spurs and a whip from another field nearby, and did as Rabbit asked, and together they went to the girl's home. Wolf trotting along like a little horse, and Rabbit laughing to himself, sitting in the saddle, with his spurs and his whip holding the bridle reins. When they drew near the house, Rabbit made a great noise, so that the mother and her daughter might look out to see where the shouting came from. He called loudly, "Whoa! Whoa!" And the girl and her mother opened the door and looked out at them in wonder. Then, as they were looking on, Rabbit, chuckling to himself, struck Wolf a stinging blow with his whip and stuck his spurs deep into Wolf's sides and called him out loudly a lazy beast. Wolf jumped and plunged and kicked because of the prick of the spurs and the sting of the whip. He was very cross, but he said nothing. Some distance away, Rabbit tied Wolf to a tree, saying, "Stay here and I will send the girl to you." And then he went to the house and said to the woman, "Now you will believe that Wolf is a beast of burden, for I have ridden here on his back." And the woman believed him. She told him to give Wolf some corn or grass. But Rabbit said, "He doesn't eat corn or grass. He eats only fresh meat," for he knew well that Wolf would be quite contented if he got a good meal of meat. Then she gave him some fresh meat, which he brought to Wolf. And Wolf was happy, and his anger disappeared, and he forgot the pain of the spurs and the whip, and he thought it was fine fun to get a good meal so easily. The woman promised that Rabbit should marry her daughter, and when night fell, Rabbit went home well pleased, leaving Wolf still tied to the tree. It was so dark that Wolf did not see him leaving the house, and for a long time he thought he was still inside, and he waited long in the starlight. At last he grew tired of waiting, for he was hungry and it was cold, standing still in the chill night air of early spring. He cut with his teeth the bridle rein that tied him to the tree, and then he went to the woman's house. But the woman would not let him in. She told him to go away and that she never wished to see him again. And she called him a lazy beast of burden. He went home in great anger, for he knew now that he had been tricked, and he swore that he would have vengeance on Rabbit. The next day, Rabbit learned from the woman that she had spurned Wolf from her door, and he knew that Wolf realized he had been deceived. He was somewhat frightened, for he dreaded Wolf's vengeance, and for several days he hid among the trees. And then hunger drove him out, and he went forth to look for food. One evening he entered a garden in search of cabbage, and he was busy robbing it when the people who owned the garden spied him. And they said, "Here is the thief who's been stealing our vegetables. We will catch him and teach him a lesson." Before Rabbit knew it, they were upon him, for he was eating heartily. He was so hungry. And they caught him and bound him fast to a tree, and went to get scalding water to pour upon his back to teach him not to rob their garden again. But while they were away, Wolf came along. He too was very hungry, for he had eaten no meal for many days, but he was glad when he saw Rabbit, for now he thought he would have his revenge. Rabbit saw him at a distance, and he resolved to try another trick on him and to hail him as if he thought he was still his friend. And he cried out to him, "Help me, Wolf, help me! The people here asked me to eat up a nice little lamb, and when I refused to do it, they tied me up to this tree, and they have gone to bring the lamb to me." Wolf was too hungry to be cautious, and he forgot all about Rabbit's tricks, for spring lamb was a favorite food. And he said, "I will eat up the little lamb." And he smacked his lips as he spoke and thought of the nice tender meal he would have. Then Rabbit said, "Untie me and take my place, for the people will soon be here with the lamb." So Wolf untied him, and Rabbit in turn bound Wolf fast to the tree, and laughing to himself because he had again outwitted stupid Wolf, and he ran rapidly away. Far off he hid behind the trees to see what would happen. Soon the people came back, carrying the pots of scalding water. Wolf saw them coming, and he was in high spirits, for he thought the lamb he was to eat was in one of the pots. It was moonlight, and in the shadow of the great tree, the people could not see very clearly, and they thought Wolf was Rabbit, still bound fast where they had left him. So they poured the scalding water on his back and kicked him and knocked him on the head with a big stick, and they said, "Now, thief, we have taught you how dangerous it is to rob gardens in the spring moonlight." Wolf howled with pain, for his back was blistered and his head was sore. And Rabbit heard him, and he sat on a log and shook with laughter because of the success of his prank. Then the people untied Wolf and let him go. He went away wearily among the trees, and he again swore vengeance on Rabbit, and he resolved to kill him as soon as he set eyes upon him, for he knew that he had been tricked a second time. For several days he searched for his enemy. At last, one night of bright moonlight, he came upon Rabbit sitting in a patch of Indian tobacco plants, eating his fill and contentedly chewing the tobacco leaves. Rabbit's mouth was full of tobacco, but he laughed loudly when he saw Wolf's back bound in bandages because of the blisters, and his sore head tied up in a cloth. But when he saw Wolf's angry eyes, he was frightened, and he ran away into the woods. The moon was shining in the forest, and Wolf could catch a glimpse now and then of his brown coat among the trees, and he chased him for a long time. Rabbit tried all his tricks to shake him from his tracks, but without avail. At last, when Rabbit was almost worn out, he took refuge in a hollow tree, into which he slipped through a small hole where Wolf could not follow him. And Wolf said, "Now I have you in my power. I will kill him. But first I must go home to get my axe, to cut down the tree and to chop off his head." Then he looked around for someone to keep watch over the tree while he was gone, so that Rabbit could not escape. At last he saw an owl sitting quietly on a branch nearby. He called to him and said, "Watch by this hole until I get back, and do not let Rabbit get away." So Owl came down and sat by the hole and promised to keep guard over the prisoner, and Wolf went away to look for his axe. But Rabbit was not caught yet. He had another trick left. After Wolf had gone away, he called to Owl sitting by the hole and said, "Owl, come and see what a nice little room I have here in the tree." But Owl replied, "It is too dark. I cannot see." And then Rabbit said, "Open your eyes wide and put your face close to the hole, for I have a light here, and you can easily see." Owl did as he was told, for he was a curious fellow. Rabbit had a great mouthful of tobacco juice from the Indian tobacco leaves he'd been chewing, and when Owl put his face close to the hole, he squirted the juice into Owl's eyes. Owl screamed loudly, for his eyes were smarting and he was blinded by the juice. He ran around the tree and stamped and shrieked and rubbed his eyes, trying to relieve them of their pain. And while he was about it, Rabbit slipped out of the hole and ran away, and Owl did not know he was gone. Soon Wolf came back, carrying his big sharp axe, and he said, "Now I shall kill him at last." And Owl was afraid to tell him about his sore eyes. They were still open wide, and he could not close them. At once, Wolf chopped down the hollow tree, and then he split it open from end to end, but there was no sign of Rabbit. Wolf then thought Owl had tricked him, and that he had helped Rabbit to escape. But Owl said he had not. He sat with his eyes wide open, staring stupidly and moaning and making strange noises because of his pain. Wolf thought he was laughing at him and taunting him, for he did not know the meaning of Owl's strange cries. And in his rage, he fell to beating him over the head with his axe handle until poor Owl's head was swollen to a great size. And Owl cried, "Hoot, hoot, hoot!" and his eyes stared from his swollen head, even larger than before. Then Wolf went on his way, resolved to keep away from Rabbit. And since that time, Owl has cried, "Hoot, hoot, hoot," at night, for he still remembers his pain, and his head is still swollen and bigger than that of other birds because of the beating Wolf gave him with his axe handle. And his eyes are still large, and they stare stupidly, and he cannot look at light, and he is blind in the daylight because of the tobacco juice Rabbit squirted into his eyes. And since that night, Rabbit and Wolf have avoided each other, and they have not lived in the same place, and they have never since been friends. The end. Now, was Wolf just too stupid, or was Rabbit that good?
I don't know.
He was the trickster, he was the prankster, but in that, though, was he necessarily smarter than Wolf or smarter than Owl, or was he just really good at the game? You know what I mean?
This is true. I think, I think he was better at the game. That's the way it always seems to go. He's always a little bit ahead of the other guy, just like Coyote. Coyote is just a little bit ahead of everybody else. And sometimes that's how it works. And, really, if you're not first, you're last.
And you know, something as I was just sitting here thinking about it, come to mind between Rabbit and Coyote, where Coyote is always sabotaging himself,
Yeah.
and he always tries a good thing, but it always ends up in some kind of turmoil. But at the same time, here's Rabbit, who's all the time playing tricks on everybody. So, but does he ever really get his way?
Yep.
So no matter what he does, Rabbit always ends up in trouble.
Yeah.
He never really clears himself from whatever he's done wrong, or Wolf hates him till this day. So and Al don't like him either.
Yep.
So, but anyway, so I'm in the process. I'm in the process of choosing some cards. So y'all just.
Yep. What is your cards, everybody? It's time to put your cards on the table.
Ask the Great Spirit, ask your spirit guide.
There is
Ask
Joanne.
your spirit guide. Hey, Johan. Okie dokie. So, all right. I haven't had that one in a while.
Uh-oh.
Well, there's an upside down bear. No, I don't think we've had bear in a while.
No. I'm saying skunk's coming. Skunk today. Skunk. Because the people in Canada got skunked. They got skunked with their new prime minister.
Well, did they vote on him, or did
skunked,
or did they get skunked by the election committee?
It could be that too. Either that, or I'm picking Coyote because they got trickstered. You get it? Trickstered.
Yep, absolutely. And with that though, if it is Coyote, then it means that there's going to be some kind of something's going to fail at some point. You know what I mean? Like Coyote's always getting into trouble. Well, then I wonder what kind of trouble there might get in. Well, so far y'all are wrong.
Yep.
Upside down bear. Right side up lizard. Right side up antelope. Right side up dragonfly. This is an interesting spread so far. And I'm right at the end of the deck. Is there one more, or is it only 4?
I think somebody said dragonfly. I think it was Lucky said dragonfly. Oh, Deborah Smith says dragonfly.
Well, it was sort of iffy, but it was either badger or dolphin as the last card, and I couldn't quite. My fingers wouldn't tell me if. Well, we know dolphin is about mana, is about breathing, and badger is all about the roots and healing. So maybe, well, I'll read the rest of the cards, but maybe it's about healing with breath and the dolphin. But anyway, let me get my book out and start from the beginning. So we'll see how close the cards come tonight, as far as has been in the past some kind of something that relates to the day. You know what I mean? So number 5 is bear, upside down.
Yep.
So bear is about introspection. So that's going to start off. And I can see how that's going to sort of work out. And it might end up being the dolphin. But so here's bear, introspection. The strength of bear medicine is the power of introspection. It lies in the West on the great medicine wheel of life. To become like bear and enter the safety of the womb cave, we must attune ourselves to the energies of the eternal mother and receive nourishment from the placenta of the great void. Now, at the end of this is dolphin, and it's all about, receiving the manna. So there's already a connection that I see. To become, let's see, wait. The great void is the place where all solutions and answers live in harmony with the questions that fill our realities. If we choose to believe that there are many questions to life, we must also believe that the answers to those questions reside within us. Now, upside down, if you've drawn bear reversed, your internal dialogue may have confused your perception of your true goals. When seeking answers or advice from others, you may have placed your own feelings and your own knowing aside. The time has come to regain your authority, for no one knows better than yourself what is proper and timely for your evolution. Reclaim the power of knowing. Bear in the contrary position is teaching you that only through being your own advisor can you attain your true goals. Anything less than the doing of that which gives you the most joy is denial. To achieve happiness, you must know yourself. To know yourself is to know your body, your mind, and your spirit. Use your strengths to overcome your weaknesses. That's bear, okay? So it's time to reverse that internal stuff. And what the beginning of this means is, you may think, oh, this is what I need out of life and this is what I want out of life. And then if you go inside yourself for introspection, I sort of talked about it earlier. It may not be, you may want something, but it may not be what you need. So don't pretend that, oh, that's just what I need, when it might not be. So that's interesting that's come back around. Now there's lizard, number 36 in the book of life here. And we did have lizard recently, and lizard's hiding under a rock. It's hot outside, and snake comes in. And lizard is all about dreaming. So snake says, hey, lizard, can I share this rock? And lizard says, sure. And snakes will like, why? How do you know I'm not going to eat you? And lizard says, because I've been watching you. And snake says, but your eyes were closed. Then he said, you were sleeping. And lizard said, no, I was dreaming. And he said, I dreamed you. You stay on that side over there in the shade, and I'll stay over here. but I dreamed that you've already had something to eat and you crawled up under here to rest. And so I know you're not going to eat me. And the snake was like, wow, that's something. So lizard is about dreaming. Lizard medicine is the shadow side of reality, where your dreams are reviewed before you decide to manifest them physically. Now, lizard medicine is in the shadow. It doesn't mean it's dark. It just means that it's not sitting in the light. That's all. It's just waiting over there. But it's not something that is dark or related to anything evil. Lizard is the medicine of dreamers. Now, so bear is introspection, and we come up with lizard, who's like, if lizard dreamed a space in your cards today, it may be time to look and see what is following along behind you. Is it your fears or your future trying to catch up to you? Or is it the part of you that wants to ignore your weaknesses and your humanness? Now, with just talking with Bear about your weaknesses, right? Okay, so lizard's falling right in there. Lizard may be telling you to pay attention to your dreams and to your symbols. Bear was kind of sort of saying the same thing. So there's a double whammy on that one, in my opinion. Careful of you. Watch your dreams. Watch for the signs. And the next one is action. So you've been in two dream states, basically introspection and the dream time, because the dream time is where you dream things before you act on them, right? So antelope is action. Antelope many years ago saw that the tribe of man was small and the two-leggeds were hungry and naked. So he went into action and strode into the camp and said, listen, y'all are starving and you're freezing to death. What you should do is kill me and eat me and use my skin for clothing. And so Antelope knew that humankind would survive the Ice Age if the people learned to eat meat. So human learned Antelope's lesson well. Because of Antelope, humans took proper action. Action is the key word. And survived to the present day. So that whatever it is that you're going to see in the dream time, and also with your introspection, Antelope is telling you to take action. Don't just sit on it. Always listen to what Antelope has to say to you. Antelope in your cards indicates a message of higher purpose. Antelope arms you with the bow of authority and forces you to act on behalf of self, family, clan, the nation, and finally, Mother Earth. Antelope says, do it now. Don't wait any longer. The next one up is number 27, it being Dragonfly. And all but one were right side up, by the way. Dragonfly is illusion. So it's interesting. We've got introspection, which is in the, into the great void, the dream time. Lizard is sitting in the dream time. Antelope is saying act now, and Dragonfly is talking about the illusion. Dragonfly medicine is of the dream time and the illusionary facade that we accept as physical reality. Now, maybe what this the dragonfly is saying is, you're looking at these things. Don't be fooled by the illusion. Okay. Dragonfly is the essence of the winds of change. The messages of wisdom and enlightenment, and the communication from the elemental world. Let me read that again. Dragonfly is the essence of the winds of change, the messages of wisdom and enlightenment, and the communications from the elemental world. If Dragonfly has flown into your cards today, you may have forgotten to water your plants. On another level, you may need to give thanks to the foods you have eaten. Dragonfly medicine always beckons you to seek out the parts of your habits which you need to change. See how you can apply the art of illusion to your present question or your situation. And remember that things are never completely as they seem. Now, the two cards left, it's one or the other. And I want to say it's Dolphin, but I'm going to look up. I'm closer to 29 than I am to 40. Badger is aggressiveness. So it seems like Badger, in order to get done what you need to do, step out of the illusion. What is Antelope telling you? To take action. And now here at the end of this, Badger is saying you need to be aggressive about it, but always without being overwhelming to others. If Badger is part of your medicine, you are quick to express your feelings. Badger medicine may also point to the aggressive healer. Okay. The aggressive healer who will have the courage to use unconventional means to exact a cure. So in other words, you might find something inside, the illusion with lizard and introspection with bear. And it might be that, where is it? To use unconventional means to exact a cure, and that might mean that you need to act on something, and Badger is telling you might have to use what you may think will work. You might have to come up with a different solution, or there's a different solution to it. So there is that. Yeah, I know somebody out there is going, well, what about Dolphin? Okay, let me read it while I'm here. Oops. Because I can see where Badger fits in this spread to be aggressive. And Dolphin is mana. And Dolphin speaks to us of the breath of life, the only thing that humans cannot go without for very long, right? Dolphin is the keeper of the sacred breath of life and teaches us how to release emotions through the dolphin's breath. So maybe you got to use dolphin's breath to get rid of some of that Badger emotion. Don't be a meanie. Now to relax. Mana is life force. Mana is present in every atom and is the essence of Great Spirit. Dolphin teaches us how to use the life mana through our breath. If Dolphin has appeared to you today, running through the waves in your spread, you are to be a link to some solution for the children of earth. Okay, so dolphin was important. Let me read that again. If dolphin has appeared for you today, you are to be a link to some solution for the children of earth. This can be a time when you are to link with the Great Spirit and bring answers to your own questions for the sake of others. And you need to be aggressive about it, I guess, both in learning and in teaching. And dragonflies don't get stuck in the illusion. Wow. I guess this time it was 6 cards. So dolphin did fit. So how about them for cards?
Those are pretty good.
That's an interest. This is a really interesting spread. I mean it. Just, the fact that there's introspection and the dream time and the dragonfly and the dolphin in the, wow. Interesting cards. You're welcome, Susie Q. All of you, you're welcome. I hope those cards meant something to you, God is in the Dolphins. Great documentary. I used to be on YouTube. It's a true story. Yep. I've been on the ocean in a small sailboat. Now, they weren't true dolphins. They were porpoise. But I'd heard that if you slap the top of the water, that the dolphins would come, and if you were in a drowning situation, you should slap the water, and if there's any dolphins or porpoise nearby, they will come to your rescue. So I'm in this, 10-foot styrofoam boat, and I see the 2 dolphins just, in front of me a little ways, and now this has been 30 years ago, and I was like, I wonder what would happen, and I slapped the top of the water just off of St. George Island. Slapped the water once or twice and did it again and kept on paddling, kept on sailing. And I mean, within a minute, all of a sudden, right next to me, this porpoise comes up and blows, and looked at me. If one of those looks, they're looking at you.
Yeah.
They're talking to you. And he was like, so what's the deal? Are you in trouble? And I was like, oh my God, it worked. So, but it's true story, but to the point, being that close in the wild to a porpoise or a dolphin or something, it's all very magical, but it's like, oh, wow, they came over to see me and to check on me. Wow. That, to me, that's special. That's special.
I agree. Anyway, well, we wrapped up another show, my birthday show. It was a great show. Good cards, good story. Thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. It's been great. Thank you so much. And I'm trying to read comments at the same time. But anyway, don't forget to join us Saturday night as we talk about all kinds of great stuff coming up. And then, of course, on Sunday, I will be on Nina's show. We're going to be talking about time travel and Tesla. So who knows what Saturday's show is going to be about. It is going to be pretty cool. So join me there. Usually with Lucky Stone as my co-host. And who knows, maybe Nina the Mystic will join us again. Thank you, Susie Q. Anyway, didn't get no birthday cake this year. I haven't bought a cake. I was gonna buy one or make one. Maybe on my days off. I'd just be fat. Then anyway, don't need to eat. But anyhow, you're gonna have a show. I'm sure everybody's asking.
Maybe if my cell phone will do its thing, I'll gonna try.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. With that, everybody, go out, do something nice for yourself. And that cup spills over to do nice things for other people. Remember, everything you do in life is a learning experience. It adds to the fun and joy of everything else in your life.
It adds
Because,
to your wisdom and knowledge.
yes, wisdom and knowledge. And with that, everyone, that brings along the last part of my message. As always, remember to go out and be that frequency you want to receive. Love you all, everybody.
Cheers.
Everyone. Yep.